Hello and welcome to BrookesTV News. I'm Hannah Broad.
And I'm Theo Weaver. Oxford City Council has outlined long-term plans to change how residents travel around the city.
Our reporter Gabriel Gowman-Finley has been looking at what those plans could mean for residents across Oxford.
As the bubble finally burst on Oxford's roads, with a trialled traffic filtering scheme and proposed 15-minute city plans, the council is implementing a number of changes that affect the way people move around the city.
A city like Oxford has a constrained supply of a finite resource, which is to say space, and that inevitably leads you to having to manage the number of cars. It really comes down to that. So all of these policies, livable neighbourhoods, traffic filters, congestion charge, zero emission zone, workplace parking levy, and the concept of local walkable neighbourhoods, they all do the same thing. They all try and use space in a way which is safe and clean.
Whilst its plans in theory sound reasonable, there are many who question their practical impact.
So if you look at the low traffic neighbourhoods which have been in for some time now, you can see that there are a few streets which are benefiting hugely. They've got no through traffic, it's all very quiet, there's very little pollution, if any. But then the surrounding streets, which are many more in number, they're actually more congested and more polluted as a consequence. So there are more people who are being disadvantaged by this than advantaged.
Understanding Oxford's traffic filter scheme more specifically is important, as it has a direct impact on how people move around the city. The filters will be located on 6 key routes across the city. Rather than physically closing the roads, the system uses cameras to monitor vehicles passing through these points. Buses, taxis, emergency vehicles and permitted drivers can pass freely. Private cars without a permit can still reach every part of the city, but may need to use alternative routes. Behind me are the very cameras that have been causing so much debate and confusion across Oxford. While separate from the council's 15-minute city plans, these cameras signify a change away from cars within the city and a move towards local living. However, the question here is, are these plans doing more harm than good, and how do they actually affect the residents that they are impacting?
I mean, for me, they've created a massive inconvenience trying to get to work. From normally taking 30 minutes, 25 minutes, is taking me an hour to 2 hours on some occasions. I mean, you can just look at the traffic at the moment, and this is constant. So removing the traffic from all the side streets, great for the people that are living there, but for the people that are having to come in and out of this area to work, it's just a real massive problem.
It's had a direct impact on my life, definitely. And I mean, I'm one where my street is quieter because we've got one, but it affects everything else I do.
I think people got to recognise we're living in the 21st century, and the idea that you can just drive around cities in your car and there's more and more people, it's just not sustainable, is it?
With the congestion charge ending and the traffic filter trial expected after Botley Road reopens later this year, Oxford's longer-term plans to reshape neighbourhoods remain in place. Gabriel Gowman-Finley, BrookesTV News.
Oxford has one of the highest cycling rates in the UK, with around a quarter of all trips into the city made by bike.
Therefore, Oxford has dedicated traffic signals just for cyclists, making the roads more safer. I'll definitely keep an extra lookout for those now. Lisa Slim reports.
Cycling in Oxford has become increasingly popular, but many residents are wondering if it's really safe.
Hello, I am Steve Stewart, and I, along with my colleague Andy Holm, run Warlands, the bike shop.
I have been cycling a bike from when I was probably about 2 years old, tricycle. I've been working at Warlands since 1988. As a cycle shop owner, I shouldn't be saying this, but it is down to cyclists cycling in a very idiotic fashion, which I see every day. They're going through red lights, they're cutting in front of cars.
Bicycles are seen all around Oxford, According to data, 59% of Oxford residents rode a bicycle in 2023 and 2024.
I think Oxford is a safe city to cycle because most motorists and most cyclists know how the other party behave when they're on the road. And if you look at Oxford and you look at Cambridge, then you will see that cyclists and motorists drive far closer together quite safely without any problems. I think that this whole thing about cycle safety is blown out of proportion.
I think it is. I think it is safe to. We get an occasional death. We've lost a few customers over the years, basically. So, but I think generally, the traffic in Oxford is used to the cyclists being around. Yeah. So I think generally it's safe.
Lisa Slim, BrookesTV News.
Oxford is naturally prone to flooding because it sits on a floodplain where two rivers meet, the River Thames and the River Cherwell. Due to this, Oxford is building a major flood relief project called the Oxford Flood Alleviation Scheme. Our reporter Stephanie Sakali has looked into this.
There has been heavy rainfall once again disrupting West Oxford with flooding affecting routes around Botley Road, Hinksey and the Secret Park and Ride. Botley East Street sits within a floodplain of the River Thames, making it particularly vulnerable during periods of sustained rain. A resident in the North Hinksey area raised concerns about walking routes between North and South Hinksey and Osney becoming impassable during flooding, as well as attracting a lot of wildlife. Today I'm here at the Secret Park and Ride where the lower level is closed off due to the flooding. For many commuters, the Park and Ride is a vital gateway into the city, making the flood majorly disruptive. Experts say Oxford's proposed flood alleviation scheme would create a 5-kilometer relief channel to take pressure off the River Thames and protect the city's transport routes and communities. The project could save more than 1.6 billion in flood damage and disruption over its lifetime and protect more than 1,600 properties currently at risk of flooding.
So I'm Robbie Williams and I work for the Environment Agency and I'm the project director who's currently delivering the Oxford Flood Alleviation Scheme. Simply, it's because we're right in the middle of the floodplain. The River Thames is maybe about a mile north of here, and when the river comes up and gets too full, it flows out. It comes out of its banks and it heads this way. It comes this way because that's where it actually wants to go, back to where it always went to before. And this event, because this has been a smallish event, you might see it once or twice a year. So water levels are now dropping. So within the week, this will be gone behind me and things will all be back to normal.
As heavy rainfall is frequent in Oxford, pressures are rising to ensure the infrastructure can withstand any future flooding to avoid bigger disruptions. Stephanie Sakali, BrookesTV News.
E-scooters offer a flexible and affordable way to travel across congested cities such as Oxford.
Cities like Oxford offer e-scooter rental schemes allowing users to unlock scooters via an app and leave them at designated locations.
While e-scooters are convenient, it has raised safety concerns for riders. Stephen Khan looks into this.
Here in Oxford, many commuters are using e-scooters as a mode of transport to get around Oxford. This is due to the recent introduction of the congestion charge. Around 164,000 trips were made in October 2025 alone. Let's see what the member of the public think about e-scooters in general.
I think they're quite a good addition to Oxford, especially in the winter, because you can get around quickly. In the summer I enjoy walking, but personally I prefer the line bikes, more fun, faster and less accidents than Voi.
I'm very much of the opinion that e-scooters are really good when there's like peak hours of traffic, so around like 4 or 5 p.m. just getting a bus doesn't make sense, especially around Oxford, like going down Headington Hill and a few of those areas. So I think they're great when you're sober, but on nights out when I've had the experience where we've all been on Voi's and like 2 or 3 of us, or there's people who are drunk and then get injured. Obviously that can be a bad thing and can be a bit of an issue.
E-scooters had a positive impact on the environment. According to Voi, riders in Oxford made 1.5 million trips in 2025, compared to 1.2 million in 2024. I had the opportunity to interview Julie, who is an approved driving instructor. Let's see what she thinks about e-scooters.
So as an approved driving instructor, I feel that e-scooters are very dangerous. Quite often we see them being used on the road at high speeds, with no protection with the rider on the scooter. Often cutting out onto from the pavements, onto the roadways in front of us. often at very high speeds, not paying any attention at all to the situations on the road. I did have an experience one day where a rider on an e-scooter drove off the pavement in front of my learner with a coat on, and he had earphones in, so he had no regard as to us being there whatsoever. And luckily my people stopped in time, because it could have been a very dangerous situation. So I feel that they are very dangerous and should not be allowed to use on the pavements or on the roads at all.
Overall, e-scooters are a good way to get around the heavily congested Oxford. However, there are some safety concerns. It solely depends on the riders who are using them and how they use them. This is Steve Academy from BrookesTV News.
This is it for the first half. We'll be back shortly to discuss rising concerns about student accommodation in Oxford and homelessness.
We will also discuss about the covered market redevelopment and how the Oxford ice hockey team is doing. See you after the break.
See you soon.
Welcome back. Soon we will be talking about the rising issue of homelessness in Oxford.
But first, let's take a look at how living costs are affecting students and how it will impact where they choose to live. My colleague here, Hannah Broad, reports.
Finding affordable accommodation in Oxford is becoming increasingly difficult for students as rent prices continue to rise across the city.
What we're seeing now is a lot more students deciding to study in the hometown where their family home is, so they don't have to pay for accommodation. There was some data released relatively recently that indicates that around 40% of UK home students are going to be studying from home this year.
Oxford is known as one of the most expensive cities in the UK, and students say finding affordable accommodation is becoming increasingly difficult. Due to this, students are having to find the cheapest option available no matter the condition. Student accommodation in Oxford can cost between £175 and £330 per week, depending on the type of housing. So why is student accommodation becoming more expensive in Oxford?
Firstly, you've got things like the global economy, particularly around the price of energy. Energy costs are going through the roof, and because student accommodation is all inclusive and we still have to heat it and provide hot water and all of those things that uses energy, and not least of which is the amount of electricity students consume. So that all adds to the cost, the ongoing cost.
Students in Oxford say that the rise in accommodation costs is putting pressure on their finances. Due to this, students are struggling to afford rent while studying. Demand for student housing in Oxfordshire is now more than 50% higher than before the pandemic, increasing pressure on available accommodation.
Students want and expect ensuite accommodation with double beds, the latest tech support, and high quality fixtures and fittings.
Some students say they are forced to share accommodation with more people or move further away from campus to reduce costs. Hannah Broad, BrookesTV News.
Oxford has seen a significant rise in homelessness. This could possibly be due to increasing housing costs.
Our reporter, Cole Bacon, looks into the challenges and addresses the issue.
Oxford City Council has recently announced over £200,000 are going towards homelessness in Oxford. The funding will go to charities such as the Gay House, Homelessness Oxford, St Mungo's, which are charities who work to provide services and support to combat homelessness in the city. But the council's announcement comes at a time when housing demand and pressure continues to grow in Oxford. The rate of homelessness has more than doubled since 2021. In 2024 to 2025, 1,170 households became homeless in the country, a 20% increase on the previous year. As of July 2025, the average monthly rent in Oxford increased by 11.5%, over the previous year where London only increased by 6.3%.
No. Houses are very expensive in Oxford.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like what? A one bed is about 700, 800 quid compared to other parts of the UK, 400, 500, 600. There's clear inflation over here.
Councillor Linda Smith, who is an executive member for Housing and Communities at the council, commented, "Our voluntary and community sector partners play a crucial role in preventing homelessness and supporting people away from rough sleeping, and this funding will help them continue delivering vital services for Oxford residents. We continue to experience significant demand pressure on our temporary accommodation services in Oxford. And these additional funds will help us address the housing and homelessness crisis in the city. One of the organizations receiving funding is the Gatehouse, a day center in the city that offers meals, showers, and support services.
Centres when it's after hours, after 6, people sleep in blankets, around Templars, around the Pure Gym, lot of blankets. I mean, it's not good for the people.
In the first quarter of 2025, people at risk of homelessness, those who are 56 days from being homeless, fell by 10.5% in London, but in Oxford, households requiring prevention assistance doubled in the same period. Although it seems the awareness of funding is not widespread, the support of local charities is critical because the services they provide are in demand as the need for housing assistance in Oxford continues to increase. This has been Cole Bacon from Oxford Brookes University.
A new skate park has recently opened in Botley and has already proven to be highly popular with local skaters of all ages.
Hannah, have you ever skated?
I did when I was younger, but never professionally. It would definitely be a good place to go though.
Oh, 100%. Our reporter Pablo Carabia visited the new skate park, so let's see what he found out.
Last year, a brand new skate park were opened here in Botley, offering young people a safe place to skate, learn tricks and spend time with friends. But behind this project, there is a story of community effort, fundraising and years of planning.
The Botley Skatepark project was led by the Botley Skatepark Working Group, which worked for 2 years alongside local skaters, parents and community members to design the space.
One of the working group, one of the parents of the kids and I, set to try and raise a grant of £100,000 from a landfill trust. And it took us about 3 months of intensive work. But we heard in March that we got £100,000 and suddenly the whole thing seemed possible. And so we spent the rest of the year trying to drum up the rest of the money. And one way and another we managed to do it.
For many skaters in Botley, the bar has quickly become part of their weekly routine, with some visiting several times a week depending on the weather.
This skate park may be 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times depending on the weather. The winter's restricted that a bit. Summer I want to come here every day, maybe 5-6 times a week.
With the strong support from the community, the skate park has become a quickly important place for the youngs. And for local skaters, this is a place where the next generation can continue to grow their passion for this sport. Pablo Cabrera, BrookesTV News.
Oxford City Council is planning on redeveloping the 250-year-old covered market. This made people around the city centre debate whether it's worth reconstructing the historic building and how much it will affect its legacy.
The covered market is so nice. I love the flowers which they sell there.
I love going there, it's very lovely. Igor looked into this.
Oxford City Council is about to be taking the next steps in the long-planned covered market for development. Although construction isn't expected to start until 2027, at earliest, this year they will be refining designs and submitting a planning application, appointing a contractor and working closely with traders to plan the works. Oxford City Council is starting a program of trade engagement this week, with one-to-one meetings with the most affected businesses, so they can understand the concerns and work with them on solutions well ahead of construction starting next year. City Council says the £8 million project will give the 250-year-old building the upgrades from new toilets, improved layouts and utilities to a more welcoming entrance on Market Street and an inviting new open court. We asked shop owners in the covered market to hear what they think about the redevelopment and how it affects them.
I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag. So there are some things that do necessarily need to happen. So there's going to be new tiles, there's going to be infrastructure improvements, there's going to be a toilet added. So there are things that do need to be done that have been neglected in the market for years. There are some decisions with the design and layout which I'm not 100% certain on, but I have to see if the proof's in the pudding. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I think the design is really pedestrian. I think it will be badly implemented. They haven't got enough money to do it well, and they will waste a lot of money on consultations and then go ahead anyway.
I think that it's good to have some redevelopment. I'm not convinced what they're planning to do at the moment is the best thing. It's becoming very much food orientated and cafes, and so little shops like mine are going to suffer a bit. I think it's going to be much more tables and chairs, places to eat. I think there's other things they could have done better.
Oxford City Council believes that this is an exciting time in the market's history, and that it's their best chance to make sure it gets the upgrades and attention it needs to last another 250 years, all while preserving its historic beauty. More updates will be shared as plans progress, and you can have a look at their webpage for more information. Igor, BrookesTV News.
Now on to sports with my colleague here, Theo Weaver. You've been busy catching up on the Oxford ice hockey team's progress.
Yes, I loved it. It was a great game to watch. Let's take a look at how they got on.
Ice hockey is a fast-paced team sport played on a sheet of ice where players use curved sticks to shoot a small rubber puck into the opposing team's goal. Each team typically has 6 players on the ice at a time, 3 forwards, 2 defensemen and a goalkeeper. It is the Oxford Women's Blues against the Cambridge Blues.
Hey sports fan, the Oxford Blues are getting ready right behind me right now, and the Cambridge Blues. Get ready for a high impact, high intensity game of ice hockey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the game we have all been waiting for. Here we have the Oxford and Cambridge starting off. Pre-varsity as well. So here we have Oxford warming up. We're going straight into Cambridge, focusing more on their edge work and really getting used to their skates. Now practicing shooting against their goalie. We're going straight into the face-off, the first period. We have a win by Oxford within the face-off, and here we have each team on the attack fighting for that puck. There's a breakaway, but it's blocked by Cambridge. Ooh, a little stumble. It's not called for tripping. Now Oxford is on the attack. They shoot, they score! Oxford is now up 1-0 against Cambridge. Now Cambridge is on the attack later this period, and they've scored! It's unfortunate for Oxford, but they really step up their game if they want to win this. Now we're on period 2, where they're going to keep going and keep fighting for that puck. Cambridge attacking, passing to the teammate, shot on goal, but it's saved by Oxford's goalie. Now, still in the second period, we have a fight for the puck. Ooh. Big things are happening, people are falling over. That's a huge check! A huge body check from Oxford 21. Now we're into the last period. Shot, blocked, defended. Cambridge trying to sneak one in. Ooh. And that is game.
The team fought hard to maintain a 1-1 scoreline, considering their shortened roster. This gives them a crucial point in the league table.
The women played absolutely fiercely. It was very aggressive, but the adrenaline was intense. You could really feel it from the sidelines.
The scoreline goes to 1-1, Oxford and Cambridge.
It's Theo Weaver from BrookesTV News.
That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week. But remember, you can watch all of our previous episodes on the Oxford Brookes YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/Oxford Brookes. Just look for the BrookesTV playlist.
Yes, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with us by emailing brookestv@brookes.ac.uk, as we'd love to hear from you if you think we have a news story you think we should be covering. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Thank you.